Hey everyone, in this video we're going to learn how to create anime style eyes in Blender. We're going to model the eyes and use shader nodes to draw out the eyes. And we're going to be using this character here for reference. So to start off, we'll model the eyes. And to do that, we're going to Shift A and add in a circle. And go into edit mode. And let's bring our view to front view. With all the vertices selected, we're going to rotate the x-axis 90 degrees. Now we have to just model the shape of the eyes, just make it more oval. The scale on the z-axis a little bit. Scale on the x-axis a little bit. It's about of our shape for our eyes. A little more. See? Now press F to fill in the circle. And now to give it some depth, press I to inset. We're going to inset twice. And then once more. But for these vertices, we press M and merge at center. Now right now it's flat, so let's select the outer ring and grab it on the y-axis. Back a little bit. And let's grab the middle ring here. This one. A little bit. Okay. Let's exit out of edit mode. Now that's the basic shape of our eyes. Let's right click in the shade smooth. Let's smooth. And now that's it for the eyes. Now we can go to our shading tab to start the shading. Here we are in the shading tab, but before we actually get into shading, we have to map out the UVs, because we're going to be using UVs for our coordinates. Let's go back to edit mode. Select all the vertices and press U to unwrap. Now I have my UV editor tab here. So we're going to select all our vertices here and just move it to the center. And then we just rotate it so it's straight up. Make sure that this line is in the middle. This is also in the middle. More to the right. Okay, that should be good. So now that we mapped out our UVs, we can start with the shader nodes. Let's add in a new shader. Call this one eyes. And let's delete the principal BSDF. Alright, so the way we're going to do this is that we're going to have layers of masks of circles to draw our eyes. So if you look at the reference, it's just a whole bunch of circles on top of each other. So the way we're going to do that here, the nodes, is that we're going to be using a vector mask node set to length as our circle. And let's add in a texture coordinate, because then we're going to be using the UVs. Let's take a look at this. Right now, you can't really see much. The circle is probably somewhere over here. Let's add in a color ramp and set the constant, because we just want sharp edges. Let's move this here. The circle is like around here as the center point, but we want the center point to be in the middle of the eye. So in order to move our coordinates, we can add in a add node right after the coordinates. And this will move it on the x-axis, and this will move it on the y-axis. Let's scale this one down a bit so we can see. And let's move it to the center. Should be minus 0.5 on both. Center this. All right, so now that we have a circle, so this is like a perfect circle. It's not really an oval. And so now we have to stretch it out. And to do that, we can use a multiply node, vector math multiply node. So let's duplicate this and set this one to multiply. Put it to 1. And X actually stretches out vertically, and this one sets it horizontally. Now we can start off by making the outline first. So let's switch this because we want the black outline to be black. And we just have to treat these values until we can make our outline. So let's do that. It's smaller. Something like this. So this is the first layer that we have done. Now let's move on to the second layer, which is going to be, let's do the pupil of the eyes here. And we're just going to be using the same nodes because it's circle. Let's Control Shift D will duplicate the nodes plus keep the nodes connected. And let's see what this one looks like. It should look the same. And then we just have to treat the shape so it becomes the right size in the middle for their pupil. Right around here. Now we can mix these two together as a mask. So let's add in a mixed color and put this one as a factor, outline as a factor, color on the bottom. And we're going to change this one to black. We also need to add in another one here. So they both, so we can see the black and the white. Let's set this one to black and this one to white. So here's our shape that we have now. And that's 2 layers, one for the pupil and one for the outline. Next, let's do this ring on top of the eyes here. So to do that, let's duplicate this. We're gonna have to make a mask within a mask and then add it to this mask. So we're going to make a circle and then another circle on top of it. And we're gonna layer those 2 circles. So something like this, and let's duplicate this again. Make another circle. This time it's gonna be smaller. Alright, so to better see what we're doing, let's add in a mixed color. And what we're gonna do is we're going to set this to multiply. Add this as the factor. And put this to black. All right, let's do here. All right, so it's going to be like this. We just want the white part. We're going to make the white part our ring. So let's just resize this till we get the right shape. All right, we're going to start to move this one down. This one up. So the ring goes a little bit under all the way until probably 3/4 bottom. Here. Okay, like this. Or maybe a little bit more. This one has to be a little longer. Down. Around here is good. Too much. And right around here is good. So now let's add this to our mix. Let's duplicate this. Put this as the factor. Add this. Take a look at this. And we're going to set this to black. This is what we have right now. And let's take a look at this with everything here. This is, I think it's a bit too high, so we have to move it down a bit. Let's move it down a bit. Okay, let's see how this looks. Looks a little bit better. And it looks a little bit more down. To here. Okay, that's red. Eye is under the pupil. Next, we can add in some colors to our eye. So to do that, let's add in same group. We're going to use the same groups here because we're going to use a spherical shape for the eye gradient. So if you notice that the eyes are not a straight line, the gradient, it's a curve. So let's look at this. And it's a gradient, it's not constant sharp edges. So let's use B-spline. And if you look at this, it starts out black at the top and then goes dark red and then to whitish red. We're going to start our sphere on the bottom, like a little bit lower to the bottom, and around here. Let's change our colors. The top is going to be black. Change this to red. Just copy this color here. Red, and then we're going to have another lighter red. Let's do this one. Add another one, and then let's copy the lighter red here. Maybe just throw 2 down. Let's move it up a little bit. Okay. I think we need some more black on the top. Change this to black. That black with darker red. Okay, to see how this looks when we add it in, then we'll further fine tune it. Copy another mix node in here. Set this as the factor. Not the factor, the B. Set this as a factor. Then with black. Okay. The other thing we want to do is change the color management style from filmic to standard so we can see actual colors. Right? Should be like this. This one red. Okay. So okay, this looks good. Now we can do the highlight that's on the bottom here. So this circle here. So again, we're going to let's copy this one. Make another circle on the bottom. Let's move this one down. Let's make it smaller, wider. I think it was around that big. Let's add it in here so we can see. Just as a factor. Here, okay. This one down a bit. It's wider. And make it smaller. Down. Okay, so that will be this part right here. And we can change the color of this here. Let's just choose this. Okay, so let's match it out with the outline. Up. Yep, like this. Okay, All right, so this is the basic eye setup for if you want just basic eyes like this. But in other places, in other scenes, like here, this highlight is a gradient. And also there's another layer of shadow on the eyes itself, the pupil. So if you want this look, you can just copy this, stop here. If you want to go at this look, we can change it to here. For this highlight, we can make it linear. So we can have more type of gradient here. This. And then for this part here, this outline on the pupil, we can go back to here and add in another layer of mask. Let's add this here. Let's add these two so we can see what we're looking at. Here. And let's make the bottom a little bit bigger. Change this one to gray so we can see. Just a little bit bigger on the same size. All right, and from there, we just have to replace it from here. Look at the end. Okay, so now we have that outline. All right. And then also we can add in another layer of highlight here where it's this part here. Or this part here, this screenshot. We can move. We can have this. Add in another layer here. Let's mix these two together. Let's put into B-spline. And it'll just be a bigger circle. Have more of a gradient. Increase this here. Move it up. See how this looks. Change this to white. See how this looks here. Reconnect it here. Right. It's too much here, so let's. Okay, so it goes up to here. Let's widen it a little bit. Up to there. Just outline a little bit darker. And a little bit clearer. Okay, so you don't want to touch the pupil exactly. So let's move it down a little bit. Okay, and then we want this one to be more brighter. This one. Change it to this. All right. Okay, that's good. Now the last thing that we can do is add in these highlights here. or here, this eye, the bottom here. And these are just a bunch of circles, like each one. So we're gonna have to have one of these groups for each highlight. So let's do that. Let's copy this one since it's right. There's the same deal here. We just had to make it this a little bit smaller and move it down towards the bottom. Up and move it to the left. Down. Okay, so the other thing is that these are on an angle. And with the add and multiply node, we can only move up and down, stretch up and down. So in order to change the angle, let's add in another vector math node and change it to cross product. These to 1 as a default, and we can change these values, change the angle. This. So we're going to put in, so it would just be like this. All right, so that's one highlight. We just have to add in a few more. Add in another one. And let's add these together so we can see what we're looking at. Let's add these two and change the mix to add. It's a factor to 1, so we add both of them. And when we move this, we should see both of them. Now we just have to make sure that they're all kind of different in some way, because they're all not exactly the same size. This one we make smaller, a little bit more. To the left, and to the left. And we repeat for the other ones. And we just keep adding on top of each other. This one here to this one. Left, right. This. I'm not going to do that many. Maybe just do 5. Change it to this side now. Okay. Add one more. This way. Okay, let's move it smaller. Like this. All right, now that we have this one's should be this way. Okay. All right, now let's add this to our layers. Copy this. And we're going to put this as a factor. And this one is I want this to be white. This one. Should be the fat there. Yeah, there we go. This will change the color of your highlights, whatever you want. All right, this is not really centered, so we can center it. Let's do a little bit more fine tuning. This way, just a little bit more. Maybe it needs more, but for now, this is what we're gonna go with. Okay, so there we have it. This is the main effect of how to create the eye with the nodes. So what we can do with this is since we're using nodes, we can manipulate how this is. So if you don't want highlights here, because some scenes they don't have highlights, like these highlights, and some scenes they do. A close-up version, you can just press this and just press M to mute and to get rid of it. Press M again, unmute it. Or we can also add in a emission shader to the end of this, make it glow. Just make sure that you have bloom turned on. In the render properties, you can have glowing eyes. And also, you can also, depending on your scene or the way the character is, you can have this gradient highlights here, or like this one, where it's just not a gradient, it's just a constant sharp edges. So gradient scenes, they're portrayed differently. All right, so one last thing, let's create these two highlights on the end, on top of the eyes. And we're just gonna have another model of this. So let's add in another circle. Okay, and let's go to edit mode again and rotate this 9 degrees on the x-axis. Have to fill it. Go back to the front view and let's just and move it here. All right, let's make the top one. Let's duplicate this. Scale this. All right, and then let's put a new material for this one too. Delete this, and then we're going to add in a emission shader. Make it white. And we're gonna have some bloom on it. Like this scene here. Maybe you have a close-up scene of her eyes and you want the bloom. You can change the color to that yellowish color if you want to. All right. Okay, and that's the entire video. I hope this was helpful for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.